Okay, thank you very much for joining. Today we are on our final session for our networking tutorials. So today we're going to understand the usage and security concern related to networking. So what we'll basically do, we will touch base in network security, which is a topic that really relates to what we previously looked into when we were doing our cybersecurity unit. But in this case, we will cover some other aspects which are related to IP security with the Internet Protocol securities. So what can we see from here? In our indicative content, there'll be the concept of topology, which we already looked into yesterday. We saw a really nice video which explained us the different type of topology and how these have to be done. Then we'll look into security with firewall configuration, file and folder permissions, access control, user rights. And then lastly, we'll have wireless encryption methods, such as WPA, WPA2, and WEP, which we already covered in our first tutorial. So we have a repetition. So what is a network security? As the definition says, network security is any activity designed to protect the user, to protect the usability and integrity of your network and data, which will now include both hardware and software technologies. It will target a variety of threats. It stops them from entering or spreading on your network, affecting network security, manage access to the network. So let's watch this video, which gives us a quick understanding.
Switch to Chrome to load your favorite sites fast, so you can browse these.
Welcome everyone, this is Umar Aziz, your instructor and mentor at Next Generation Training, and in today's video we'll be talking about what is network security. So without further ado, let's get into our agenda. We'll start off by looking into security in general. What is security in general and why it's needed? Then we'll look into network security. What is network security? Then we'll talk about CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which is basically the goal of network security. Then we'll talk about some of the controls which are needed for network security. Then we'll look into network security need, why it's really important in today's world. Then we'll look into cyber crimes by industry and country over the course of last few years. And finally, we'll review some of the types of network securities. So security is about protection of assets. An asset is any resource owned by the business or person that have an economic value. Now, if there is an economic value tied to the asset, it makes perfect sense to take prevention, detection, and reaction measures so we can safeguard the asset. For example, prevention prevents your asset from being damaged or stolen by installing locks at doors, window bars, securing the walls around the property, or potentially hiring a security guard. Detection detects when, how, and by whom an asset has been damaged or stolen by installing burglar alarms or security cameras. And reaction helps you react so you can recover your assets by calling the police, making an insurance claim, or replacing the stolen items. So what is network security? These are basically a set of rules and configurations designed to protect the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of computer networks and data using both software and hardware technologies. Basically, network security combines multiple layers of defenses at the edge of the network and within internal networks. So only authorized users gain access to the network resources, but malicious actors are blocked from carrying out exploits and threats. The goal of network security is to protect the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of computer networks. Confidentiality means that only authorized individual can view sensitive or classified information. An unauthorized individual shouldn't have access to the confidential information. Integrity means that changes made to the data are done by only authorized engineers, and corruption of data basically is failure to maintain data integrity. Availability, on the other hand, ensures that the system works promptly and service is not denied to authorized users. For example, if the network or its data is not available to authorized users, perhaps because of denial of service attack or maybe because of general network failure, the impact may be significant to companies and users who rely on network as a business tool. Now, there are many layers to consider when addressing network security across an organization, and attacks can happen at any layer in the network security layer model. So it's crucial that the network security architecture should be designed in a way that it should address each and every area. Now, network security typically consists of 3 different controls: physical, technical, and administrative. And let's dive into each and every one so we can understand what is the end goal of each control. So physical network security, basically it's designed to prevent unauthorized personnel from gaining physical access to network components such as network cabinets, routers, switches, firewalls within those cabinets. So controlled access such as locks, biometric authentication, and other devices is essential in any organization. Technical network security control protects data that is stored on the network, also known as data at rest, or which is in transit, also known as data in motion, in and out of the network. So the protection is twofold here. First of all, the security administrator needs to make sure that it protects the data or system from unauthorized personnel and also protect against the malicious activities from internal employees. And lastly, administrative network security. It consists of security policies and processes that controls user behavior, including how the user is getting authenticated to the network, their level of access on the network, and how IT staff member implement changes to the infrastructure. So why we need network security? Because there is no privacy on the internet. And internet has made information available to everyone. So in order for an organization to protect its confidential information, network security is needed. And just think of it. Digitization has transformed our world. How we live, work, play, and learn all have changed. Every organization that wants to deliver the services that customers and employees demand must protect its network and ultimately protecting its reputation. According to one statistics report, there will be close to 6 billion internet users by 2022, and the other most important thing to take into account is the increasing amount of large-scale, well-publicized security breaches which are going up every year. Just to name the few, in 2016, 3 billion Yahoo accounts were hacked in one of the biggest breaches of all time. In 2016 again, Uber reported that hackers stole the information of over 57 million riders and drivers. Then in 2017, 412 million user accounts were stolen from friend finder sites. And in 2017 again, 147.9 million consumers were affected by Equifax breach. And this is just a chart representing the average annual cost of cybercrime by industry. And as you can see, from 2017 in 2018, there is a 12% increase on an average per industry. And if we talk about the average annual cost of cybercrime by country, you can see that from last year in 2018, the number of cybercrimes are just increasing. Just alone in the United States, it's been increased by 29%. There are multiple types through which we can implement network security, and here we'll be discussing just few of them, starting with network access control. A network access control appliance let authorized users and devices connect to the network, and they keep out potential attackers. So in a NAC appliance, administrators, they need to recognize each user and each authorized device, so then an enforcement through policies can be applied based on their level of access. Antivirus and anti-malware software, malware short for malicious software, which include viruses, worms, trojan, ransomware, and spywares. Sometimes malware infect a network but lie dormant for days or even weeks. So the job of the security administrator to select a software that not only select the malware upon entry, but also continuously track file afterwards. Firewalls put up a barrier between trusted internal network and untrusted outside network, such as internet. In a firewall, administrators, they basically define rule which traffic is allowed to get into the network and which traffic is blocked. A firewall can be a hardware appliance, software, or both based on the need in the network. VPN, a virtual private network, encrypts the connection from an endpoint to a network, often over the internet. Typically, a remote access VPN uses IPsec or secure socket layer to authenticate communication between device and network. SIM stands for security information and event management. SIM products pull together the information that InfoSec department needs to identify and respond to threats. These devices come in various forms, including physical or virtual appliance. And wireless security. So wireless networks are not as secure as wired one, and without strong security measures, installing a wireless LAN can be as like putting an Ethernet port everywhere. So it's crucial to select the right encryption and authentication type when deploying wireless within the organization. So let's do a quick recap. We started off by looking into security in general. Then we talked about what is network security. Then we looked into CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which is the goal of network security. Then we saw the controls for network security. Then we discussed about the need for having network security. And we also looked into the cybersecurity crimes by industry and country, which are rising each and every year. And finally, some of the types of network security. Thank you so much, guys, for viewing the video, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you guys for viewing the video.
So the video explain what we will cover in today's session and the type of security that we'll look into today. And let me get back to our presentation. So in today's, we're going to look into virtual private network, VPN. So what do we mean by VPN? This is just simply going to create an end-to-end private network connection. So what does it do? It basically, this type of connectivity allows us to work on a public network, but we're now sending encrypted data through a private network. So it's just basically going to increase our security layers, giving us an additional layer and ensuring that the traffic that we're producing, it's all encrypted and it cannot be decrypted. So what does this mean? Well, there are various types of modern VPNs, which can now support many types of encryption features. And there are various benefits by using this. And some of them could be cost related, where an organization will now decrease the reduce the connectivity cost, and they will now increase remote connection bandwidth. Also, security measures due to the fact that we're not browsing anymore in the public network, but we are creating our virtual private network. We will now ensure that with the encryption, it will be completely difficult for unauthorized people to access the data. Scalability. So this is another benefit, because we're now making it easy to add new users without adding any significant infrastructure. This means that our organization can now grow without having to face any type of changes which can now compromise the way we work. And also there is compatibility, where we can now be implemented across a wide variety of wide area network. Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to looking into an organization, there are various types of connectivity we can create. So one of them is site-to-site VPNs. So what this does, you now connect network across from untrusted networks, such as internet, with a trusted one. So what happens is that the end host will now send and receive normal encrypted internet protocol traffic through our VPN gateway. Once this traffic has been created, the gateway can now encapsulate the message, encrypted message, and you can now send traffic through a VPN tunnel into a VPN gateway. Also, we have remote access VPN. So what does this do with remote access VPN? We now let remote and mobile user to securely connect to the enterprise. So when it comes to bring your own device policies, you can now use this feature, where by using this remote VPN, we can now ensure that our private data is not going to be corrupted or accessible to unauthorized people. Then we have client-based VPN. So, like for instance, this can be client software such as Cisco, any Connect secure mobility, which will now secure mobility client, and this must be installed on a remote user. Also, we have VPN concentrator. What does this do? So when it comes to large organization, where there are more than few virtual networks, this must mean the connection has to be maintained, and a specialized device known as VPN concentrator can be used as a VPN server. So this is very important when in organization there might be lack of connectivity. That's when the VPN concentrator comes into place, that for the internet service provider and the company to stay connected. So here there are some benefits. So what a concentrator will now perform various tasks like authenticating VPN clients, establishing VPN connections, and manage encryption from VPN transmissions. Okay, so when it comes to enterprise and service provider VPN, the both of them can be managed and deployed. So when it comes to the enterprise one, there are some common solution in order for them to keep a remote connection, remote access to the VPN, and also this can be managed by the enterprise using IP sec or secured socket layers. While for the service provider VPN, what they do, they will now create and manage, will now be created and managed by the provider network, and it usually uses multi-protocol label switches. So what is IPsec? IPsec stands for IP security, and like how the guy mentioned in the video, this internet protocol security has to guarantee to us this major aspect. So it has to guarantee confidentiality, where the information will be now encrypted and with a sharp algorithm, and this cannot be altered, cannot be hacked. Integrity. So the message, when it starts its life cycle from the initial point to the end point, has to maintain its integrity, which means that no one unauthorized can alter the information which are going to be sent by the user. Then we have origin authentication, where it uses the internet key exchange protocol to authenticate source and distribution. And then we have DiIT, which is used to secure key exchange. So IP security technologies also is not bound to any specific rule for secure communication. It can be easily integrated with new security technologies without updating existing security standards. And then also it is the open slots in the IP security frameworks. Also here we have the reason why we should look into understanding what is a protocol encapsulation. So what happens is this protocol, it is the first building block of any framework, and with this encapsulated package, it is used to authenticate authentication header or encapsulation security protocol. What they do, the choice of authentication header or encapsulation security protocol, we're now going to establish who's going to which one of the building block are going to be available. Now we're looking into IP security models. So when it comes to operate in one or two different modes, there are transport mode and tunnel mode. So with transport mode, the IP security will now protect us from will now protect what is delivered from transport layer to the network layer, and it is basically going to ensure that this transition will happen in the most smooth way. So here we have an image where it shows how this transport mode is done from our host A to our host B. Tunnel mode, on the other hand, will now protect the entire IP packet, and what it does, it takes an IP packet, including the header, and it now applies to the IP security to the entire packet, and then adds a new IP header. So where do we find this? Is normally used between two routers and between a host and the router. Comparison. So in the transport mode, what the difference between these two is that in transport mode, the IP security layer comes between the transport layer and the network layer, while for the tunnel mode, this flows in from the network layer, so the IP security layer, and the back of the network layer again. So we look into these two type of transportation mode, and these are done through authentication header and encapsulation header, which we'll analyze. So let's look into detail. What is the authentication header protocol? So this is basically designed to authenticate our source host and to ensure that the integrity of the data and the payload is carried in the IP packet. While we can encapsulating security payload, we now provide a source authentication, integrity, and confidentiality. So we have analyzed the meaning of confidentiality, where nothing can be hacked or being accessible for unauthorized people. Integrity, we have looked into the message when from the beginning has to maintain his integrity throughout his life cycle. Authentication, we have looked into the two types of the authentications. So also here secure key exchange, where we've seen that this is a variation of Diffie-Hellman key, and these are exchanged. This exchange are specified as Diffie-Hellman groups with two type of groups. So there is a group with range of large keys, and then there is the second one with a group of 19 numbers, and these are all related to the cryptography. Now, when it comes to VPN virtual network protection, there is a tunnel concept for a site-to-site VPN. So our image shows us what this concept is, where there are two steps, and the first one is the host PC1 on the right send the package to the web server, just as it would without a VPN, and the router encrypts the package, adds some VPN header, and adds another IP header with a public IP address, and forwards it to the packet. That's how it keeps it safe. So any attacker in the internet which tries to copy this package, so this attack is also called man in the middle. What happens is that they will not be able to access this due to the fact that this message has been encrypted and transferred with a VPN header. So conclusively, we need to identify security issues related to a network and how these security issues can be minimized. So I'll say this learning outcome has already been covered in our previous tutorial where we looked into cybersecurity and the type of attacks that can
Yes.
occur over the internet. So I would say this was everything for today. Is there any question?
No, not that I can think of. Thanks.
Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next week on Tuesday.
Right. Okay. Next week, Tuesday. Okay.
Okay, because Monday is bank holiday in the UK.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a bank holiday in the UK. It's just a bank holiday for you, right? Like
No,
the tutors.
it's a national bank holiday.
Oh, okay.